Hello, Nick family. Welcome to the Queen's Court. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen, and as always, we have a lot to talk about. I'm joined by Tony Crowe from Knicks and Bruises. That's appropriate for what happened in game 3. How you feeling, Tony?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Surprisingly, after the game, I still wasn't too down. Like a normal loss, I'm usually a little down, can't sleep, blah 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 blah. blah. But um, again, third game in a row, we did not play well, and for me, that's still an encouraging sign
Right,
because they haven't taken our best shot yet.
right. Yeah. Hold on. I got this. Oh, all right. I'll do it differently. I'll fix it later. Yeah. So we're gonna do just quick thoughts on game 3. I really don't want to talk about it, but quick thoughts on game 3 or even the series up to this point before we do the bulk of the show is going to be on,
Game four.
previewing the game coming up. And like I told you before, when the Knicks lost this game, I didn't listen to anybody. It's like I just want to get to the next game. I don't want to hear what the Knicks content creators have to say. I don't want to hear what Boston got. The Knicks, we just have to get to the next game. That's kind of where I'm at. But this is what I will say. I never thought game 3 was a must win. I thought that Boston, no matter how they played in the first 2 games, are still NBA champions and they still have a lot of pride, right? And so we were going to get their best game in game 3,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was hoping secretly, I didn't say this when we did the show. I was saying it's possible the Knicks can get the doors blown off of them
Mm-hmm.
in game 3. And I thought game 4 would be the game. Like I felt they needed to get one of them. It would have been great if they got game 3 and put a
Mm-hmm.
stranglehold on this series, but I wasn't betting on game 3. It's game 4 that I felt like the Knicks would have the better chance to win. So I'm really, 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 really looking forward to this game. Boston doesn't want to go down 3-1. They're going to get their best effort. I still don't think this is a must-win game for the Knicks. Um, but I'm pretty sure they would rather not have it tied up going into
Mm-hmm.
Boston. Your thoughts on game 3 or the series up to this point?
Well, like I said, I wasn't that disappointed. Similar to you, um, I didn't think game three was a must win. I thought that would probably be our toughest. Um, sh- that would be Boston's best game up until this point. I did have hope that we
Yes,
kind of turned
yes,
some things around because we didn't play well in those first 2 games either.
right,
Collect overall, I think
right,
individuals had moments in those first 2 games, but as a team, as a collective, we haven't played our best basketball yet. So I was hoping that we'd get to see some of that in game three. I don't think we did. That actually was probably our worst performance, game three
facts.
out of the 3 games. So I agree. I thought game four was the one. Like this one, I will label a must win. Um, and I
Yep.
say that because the bigger stance that I have taken this year and even into last year is how important is home court advantage to us? How beneficial is home court advantage to us? The last couple of years, it hasn't meant anything. We didn't close out Philly in New York. We closed them out on the road. Um, we had
Yeah.
Game 7 against Indiana, lost that. You know what I mean? We didn't close out Detroit at home when we had the opportunity, and here we are again losing game 1. So this is the one that, to me personally, I feel like is a must win because we have to put some type of value on Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean? Otherwise, the record is whatever it is, and we just hoping to get in the playoffs, top 6, and home court advantage don't mean nothing.
Right.
For me, I want home court advantage to mean something. So this is why I feel like tonight is a must win, and we need this game tonight, more than anything. And if we win tonight, it also gives us the opportunity to close out at home again. You know what I mean? Granted, if we lose in Boston the next game. So I think there's super importance to tonight's game. I'm gonna label it a must win. And again, we haven't played our best basketball yet as a collective.
Mhm.
Let's do that at home, right? Let's build that momentum at home and then close them out when we close them out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the things I'm starting to wonder in this day and age is how important is home court advantage. Because I would have to go back and check the past few years of how big of a factor um, it has been. Um, Boston, the Knicks have shown they can win on the road. Boston has shown, at least during the regular season, that they can win on the road. Um, the Knicks have been better. The Knicks have been better on the road in these playoffs. So not sure how how important it's been as of late. But obviously, if the Knicks can win tonight and go up 3-1, that shows a lot. Do you think? Like, I know I have here Knicks in 6, but I do think this is going 7. Regardless, I do think it's going 7. But coming into the series, I had the Knicks losing in 6. The Knicks, in my opinion, has really grown up over these playoffs in terms of mentally being tough, being a better team down the stretch, except in Game 3, yeah, at Madison Square Garden, and they've just shown me something that just have me now believing that it's not much. It's not that wide of a gap between these two teams. I just don't. This is not, and I've said this multiple times since the season ended. This is not the team that played game 82 of the regular season. Like, this is just not that team. Like, this is a different team, same players, but they just they've leveled up, in my opinion, and playing closer to their ceiling than they did in the regular season, which is why I think they're closer to Boston than they were in the regular. The talent was always there, that ability was always there. They just wasn't playing to that level, and now they are. And I know some will argue, hold on now, they had to get a last second defensive stop, for the
Okay.
first 2 games. They had to come back from a 20-point lead. Are you sure? Twice. Are you sure they've closed the gap, or have they just been a bit lucky? And personally, I think that they've closed the gap by just playing up to their ceiling, closer to it, I should say.
Yeah. Um, that's crazy because I agree with some of what you said, but I think a lot of what you said, I have the opposite stance. I think
Okay.
we've been playing closer to our floor. Um,
Hmm.
I've always felt like the gap wasn't as far as the the stats said, or the matchups have said.
Hmm.
I've always thought there was a learning curve. Um, and in these 2 games that we won, again, I thought we won them. I thought luck had a lot to do with it. I thought the Celtics faltering had a lot to do with it. And then the biggest thing that has been why we won is Brunson and keeping the game close and letting him like that's the one surefire thing. Brunson is a closer. Brunson is Captain Clutch. You know what I mean? Like you get him in that span where the game is close. I take my chances with him over anybody on their side, anybody over anybody else on our team. But our ceiling, I don't think we've even scratched the surface of it because of how bad we've played.
Right.
Against them. And this is how we've been all year long. We talked about moments with Mikal Bridges as opposed to like a collective whole game, and we're still seeing that in the playoffs. It's closeout defensive moments from him as opposed to him just kind of having a all around game from start to finish, 48 minutes. And I think you could say that about everybody on this team. Like Josh Hart has probably been the most consistent for like a 48-minute span. You know what I mean? But everybody else, it's been Brunson in the clutch, which again, if that's what we got to rely on, great. But we got to get him into those clutch moments for him to be able to do what he does. Macau, defensive stops at the end of games. We've seen it in those 2 games. We've seen him 2 games throughout the regular season. So we know he's capable of that. OG, he's been solid all year. He had that real good game, 29 points, where we needed that from him. But he hasn't been that guy all year. You know what I mean? So
Right. For the
it's
other
really
game.
been moments for everybody finding their spots and finding ways to win. But as far as like touching our ceiling, I think we're at our floor, and this is just how good we are. And hopefully we can scratch the ceiling a little bit this year, but moving forward, we're gonna really start to see what our ceiling is. But I 100%, I think luck had a lot to do with it, but luck has to do with everybody every year. The whoever the champion is each year has some luck in their favor, has some matchups in their favor, have some injuries on the opposing team. Like all that factors in every year. But I think I'm happy where we are. I think we're still playing with house money. You know what I mean? Like, and my thing is for this game in particular, let's get a collective effort of everybody showing what our potential is. And I think we could, and then we do that, we win this game.
Yeah, we do. I want to talk about Brunson because I don't think Brunson has been his best, actually. I think he's had moments in the clutch, like you said. But even in that game in which we won, it was Mikal Bridges with the 14 points in that fourth quarter that put us in position for him to take that shot over Drew Holiday to put us up 1, and then he had the layup after that. Then he hit the free throw. I'm not taking anything away from Brunson for sure, but what I'm saying is I haven't really seen playoff Brunson in this series. How much of that is how they're playing him? And I gotta say, to answer my own question, I'm not taking anything from Drew Holiday. He's a hell of a defender. He's not on the level he used to be. And he's definitely not on the level of Thompson, Amen Thompson from in Detroit. Was it Amir or Asar? Asar Thompson in Asar in Detroit. And there's been many times in the first half where I thought the shots was there for Brunson in the key, and he didn't take them. And I'm like, is that an ankle thing? Like he'll get right into it and then turn around and look for an outlet. And I'm like, is that an ankle thing? Or is he trying not to force it? Is he thinking too much? So I guess my question is to you, what are you seeing from Brunson? Do you think it's that he's not being aggressive? Do you think it's the defense, or do you think he's just picking his spots? Like, what are you seeing from him?
I'll be honest, Queen. Ever since he missed the game winner, he's been missing shots that he normally makes. Ever since he missed that shot, because right before that, he put us in position to have that game winner, and then he missed it, went to overtime. But in that overtime, he wasn't himself. He missed shots that he normally makes. I just feel like law of average, he's gonna get back to who he is, and I think it's less of the defense and more of him really just missing shots that he normally makes. I'm looking for a big game from him tonight, from beginning to end. I also think some things that factor in is the fact that a balance, and I mentioned this in the regular season, of him figuring out, because now it's the playoffs, it's a little bit different. How to get guys hot, how to get guys open, how to let the supporting cast be as good as they can be, and then for him to kind of wait until them clutch moments to be able to perform and do what he does. But there comes a time where it might be clutch moments in the first quarter because nobody
Facts.
got it.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So there's a balance that he has to figure out in the beginning of the game, in the middle of the game, throughout the game. Like, is this my time, or do I continue to try to get Bridges hot, get Cat hot, get OG hot?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. Sometimes, you're down and you're trying to get back in the game. That's a clutch moment. You're up and they're trying to climb back into the game and you're trying to keep them at bay. Those are clutch. Those are clutch moments. So I just need to see Brunson aggressive. If he misses the shots, he missed the shot. But I just need to see him aggressive. I felt like he left a lot of shots on the table over the first few games. And I was like, what? He turning around looking for somebody to pass it to. I mean, albeit he only had a half a step, but that's all that's all he
Usually needs.
usually that's all he usually needs. What do you need from him tonight? I heard somebody in the chat said I need ISO Brunson tonight. I need 40 points tonight. What do you need from Brunson tonight?
I'm not. I think everything is like a catch-22. I think we could get him hot from the start and the whole game, and him have 40, 50, whatever. I don't know if that's a detriment or not. You know what I mean? Because I think it always is going to depend on how the game goes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm kind of worried either way. But if I'm picking, I'll take my chances. If he's hot from the beginning of the game and it has to carry us all throughout the game, I'll take my chances because I know he's capable of it.
Mm-hmm.
But part of me, at the same time, wants I want to see the collective. You know what I mean? So I'm not
Absolutely.
mad if he's feeding guys early, and that's the strategy because I know who he is in the clutch. So it's like a catch-22 to me. I guess basically is just get the win. I don't care how it happens. You know what I mean? Like it could be Brunson all game, it could be collective. However, like Tip said, figure out a way to win.
Yeah, for sure. Salute, Ajay. Thank you for joining us. How you doing?
All right, Tony's here. You don't need me.
I do. I do.
I was like,
Uh,
man, I'm not gonna let you go solo, man.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it's always good to have people that have your back for sure. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're talking about Brunson um, not having his best playoff series up to this point, in my opinion. Feeling like he's left a lot of shots on the table, so to speak. A lot of shots he could have taken that he hasn't. I don't know how much of that is their defense on him, how much of that is him picking his spots. What have you seen from Brunson so far, and what do you want to see tonight?
Okay. Oh, where's Tony?
He had to step away.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. Yeah, okay. I'm ready.
Oh, I asked a question. Did you hear me?
Oh, I did.
You didn't. Oh, I
No,
said,
okay. Go ahead, because it
no,
came in
just,
spotty.
yeah. What have you seen from Brunson over the first few games, and what do you need to see from him tonight? I don't think he's been as aggressive. I don't think I felt he's left a lot of shots on the table. I don't know how much of that is his defense, him picking his spots, but what have you seen up to
Well,
this point? What do you want to see?
well, I think it might be a combination of both. Um, that his, I, you know, as much as these players tell you they don't pay attention, they don't listen to the noise to what's going on out there, they actually do. Okay, Brunson, he's out there, he's on social media, he knows what people are saying, that like he doesn't pass the ball, he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that. Listen, these guys are human. It affects them, and they try to do the right thing, because you got to remember, these guys, they understand they're playing for the fans. If the fans are saying something, if it's not out there, if it kind of sort of makes sense to them, they'll probably follow a little bit, right?
Mhm.
But it's a combination of that and teams playing defense, better defense on him. Not that that could stop him, but it makes him work harder.
Mhm.
Because you got to remember, if you look at the numbers, he's not as efficient, but he's still getting his numbers. I mean, he's still scoring. He's still getting them up. He's still getting them up. He's still, and he's still passing the ball. And that's another thing, Queen. I always mention assist is a half-ass stat because it's a two-part stat, right? You got to pass the ball, the next person got to make the shot. He's passing the ball. They're not making the shots. So that shows like it drops the number of assists. You know what I'm saying? But I don't listen, like you said that all the time. You say that all the time, right? At this point, like there's no secret.
Right.
Boston knows what New York's going to be doing. New York, no, they know what Boston's going to be doing. There's no secret. There's no like. It's just the guys got to go in. They got to perform. They got to execute. Okay. So if Brunson is playing a game and everybody else is sharper, all of a sudden it's going to seem like Brunson's doing a great thing because he's going to have the last game, as horrible as it looked, he had 27 points.
Right. I was surprised when they said he had 25. I said, really?
And think about it. If the
Yep.
other guys were doing, if the other guys was coming through, so the number of assists would have gone up, and it would have been OG Anunoby had 2 points, so that all of a sudden seems like this team is horrible. They're not playing. They didn't come in ready. Yeah, they didn't come in ready. They not, some guys, Cat had a pretty good game.
Mhm.
Mitchell Robinson, free throw, air ball, and free throws and all had a pretty good game. But you had a couple of guys who didn't have it, and it took the whole team down with them. So Brunson, he's not having a great playoff run, but it's not as bad as it seems. When you look at him, it's not as bad at all. But when you look at the whole team, you're like, oh, so it's really, it's a combination of everything. And defense, they playing on him. I don't see anything special. Actually, so far, even in the Boston series, I feel like in Detroit played better defense on him. Like they made him work harder. To the point where you're looking at Drew Holiday, you're like, oh, Drew seems like he's a step slower. So his age starting to show because Asar Thompson, he was making Brunson work. For hit and Dennis Schroeder for that matter, they was making him work.
I think one of the issues is with Detroit, he had more primary defenders.
Right.
So even if these guys were doing a great job, over time, Brunson would be like, all right, I figured him out. I figured this out. I figured Dennis out. I know how to get my shot, get a good shot, get a foul. Like I figured him out. Pardon me. I think Boston is giving him so many different looks. It's hard for him to figure out them individually. And it's so now it's about just figuring them out on the fly, each one. You know what I mean? But not actually figuring out the matchup because I think it switches. I think I've seen Pritchard on him do a good job. I've seen Tatum on him. I've seen Brown. Like I've seen every single person guard Brunson in this series.
Right.
So I think that makes it a little bit difficult for him to kind of figure out the matchup because it's not consistent.
Yeah, but Tony, by the same token, though, I think he's pro enough and he's good enough that they keep doing that. Eventually, he's gonna come out of that. And I don't even want to say come out of that funk, but come out of that confusion, that defense confusion that he's because after a couple of games, you get used to they got but so many guys they can throw at you, right? I mean, 3 guys, 4 guys after a while, and the team's got to be smart also because I don't know if you notice, like and this is the thing, we a lot of times we see what works and we don't continue. Like, you gotta beat that horse till it dies. Keep beating that dead horse. Like it's almost like every time they pick Al Horford, right, and he ends up on Brunson, you're like, oh yeah, you love it because most likely he's gonna score. But we got to keep doing this until they figure something out. You got to challenge them.
He loves it too. But But I think that's where it gets tricky because like there are favorable matchups that Brunson likes, Horford being one of them.
Right.
But if he misses on one of those opportunity, like that's a big missed opportunity because the next matchup may not be Horford. You know what I mean? So it's like his margin of error becomes smaller because it's so many different. It's so like you can't miss that opportunity on Horford.
Listen, this the playoff, right?
And this is not me knocking him, by the way, because I think he's due for a good game tonight.
Listen, every team's at this point, this is round 2. Every team's margin of error is like micro. Okay, every team's margin is very, very small, and you can't. And the speed of the game, a split, not even a second, like a split second makes a difference. You know, in whether somebody scores or not. These guys, they capitalize on those mistakes, every one of them. That's why they're in the NBA. They're the best in the world. You know, so and it's when even on deep, we'll talk about defense, and there are a couple of things we do on defense. I don't understand why we keep doing this. It's like every time it's the same result. It's an open 3, but then we keep repeating the same thing. Like, you're muted, Queen.
Actually, let's get into that. That's a good segue to the defensive schemes in game 1 and 2, the defensive scheme in the first half of game 3, and what do we think is going to work best for us tonight. So, like I said, I have not listened to anybody. I'm sure there's those out there that are smarter than I am. But like I said, once the Knicks lost, I just shut everything down. I'm just trying to get to this game. But I noticed hedging, at least in the first half. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is this? And I don't even know what type of hedge. It was just like a flag football, like, just like tap the person or juke in that area and then come back, and the other guy taking a long time to get back to. I'm like, whoa, that ain't even a proper hedge if you're going to do it. And 2, why did we go away from the switching? I'm not saying that's why we lost the game. They shot 50% from 3. They got a lot of open looks in game 1 and 2 as well, right? Some of it was the Knicks defense and the type of threes that the Knicks had them taking. And some of it was just they had open looks and missed, right? So in this game, they were hitting their open looks, and I felt like the Knicks was giving them more open looks than usual because we didn't switch.
Yep.
I don't know what the game plan is tonight, but I feel like we got to go back to switching. You do get the mismatches with Cat. You get the mismatches with Brunson. Live with them. That's what I'm saying. That's what we did the first 2. Live with the mismatches.
Queen, there was no drop coverage for Cat in the first 2 games. And then all of a sudden, game 3, we see drop coverage again, which we know all year long. Any content creator you listen to was talking about how horrible Cat is in drop coverage.
That's the part I don't understand, Queen.
But was that a Cat thing, or was that a change in strategy? Because one of the things I noticed, and I'll get back to you, Ajay, was Cat's commitment the first 2 games. Like, he was committed. Whether he got fouled or not, he was committed. Was this a lack of commitment? Was this a change in strategy?
I would have to think it's a change in strategy. If we're gonna credit the switching, which we've been asking for in the first 2 games, as a change in strategy, like I can't imagine this is Cat going rogue. you know what I mean? Like I don't know, mate. And again, Tibbs is a lot smarter than me when it comes to basketball. You know what I mean? Maybe he sees something that made him do that. I don't know why, but I agree with you. When we were switching, the Celtics had to make decisions. You know what I mean? It was they had to figure things out. They couldn't just run what they wanted to run. Once we start hedging, drop coverage, now they can pick us apart. Now those threes become, and credit them, because I think they took their time on their threes
Yes, they did.
in game 3 as opposed to game 1 and 2, where they seemed like whether they were open or not, they were rushed.
Right.
You know what I mean? But pardon me, I'm a little lit right now. I've been barbecuing, drinking, pre-gaming.
Listen, the Knicks tonight, hopefully they go back to switching. But to your point, maybe he saw something in game 1 or 2 looking at the film where, yeah, it looked like the switching was working, but it was just that they were missing shots. I don't know. Let's see what they do today. But to AJ's earlier point, we need more people involved
So
in
so
the offense. Go ahead,
so
Adam.
so you look at games 1 and 2. You see, you were switching, yeah, and they were also missing shot, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So now you go back to the strategy you used the first 3-4 games of the season. That's crazy. I mean, listen, the same we're not basketball minds like those people are. If we could see this here, I don't understand how they don't see it. And it's Queen, we go back to the numbers, right? It's by the numbers. When you switch, stay with the person at the crowd the 3-point line, right? If you get beat off the dribble, fine, that's 2 points. But when you do drop coverage, that's 3 points. Like, it's simple math that if they're gonna score on you, it's best that it's a 2-pointer instead of a 3-pointer. That's fine. Let them get the 2 for 2 reasons. First of all, it's 1 point less per possession for them, and number 2, it takes them out of their element. They love the 3-point. It gets them going when they shoot the 3-point. It gets them going on defense. It gets them going in fast break. That's part of the whole thing. When you disrupt that, it disrupts everything for them. Let them get the 2-pointer. If you get beat off the dribble, that's fine. And God forbid you have Mitch back there. It ain't going to be that easy. You get beat off the dribble and then Big Mitch is waiting back there.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know what they're seeing that they're not doing this.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely not there. Shout out to
Big
Bubba
Bubba.
cooking with Chef Zay. This is what I'll say about that and any strategy. You're gonna have to mix it up. I'm not necessarily the switching part, but in terms of personnel, you can't run Josh out there forever. There's times you're gonna have to make switches. Even with Mitch, you can't run him out there, in my opinion, for 40 minutes. They're gonna adjust to that. You can't run Cat out there. You're gonna have to mix it up. And for me, it's not necessarily about starting as much as it is about how many minutes a particular rotation gets with each other, whether they start or not. Like how many possessions do they get? Do they get with each other? So if you're saying you want to see more of Mitch, I can't argue with that. But just keep in mind when you do more Mitch Cat, that's less of something else, right? If you do more Josh Hart, that's a less of something else. And so you always have to kind of even it out based on what's going on in the game. And I do think there will be times in which you do have to play Mitchell Robinson more, and hopefully Thibodeau goes to that. But my point is, there's trade-offs no matter what you do. Tone?
First off, hold up. Let me let you do that super chat
Oh yeah.
from Cornerstone. Kev in the building.
Miss you, Cornerstone. Oh man, that just brings back memory. This is the panel I came into content creation with. Miss you a lot. Miss my crew. Totally right. Stop the drop coverage, and I need more of paint production out of OG and Mikhail. Love you. Go New York. Go New York. Go. Yeah, we're gonna get into just. I'm gonna let Tony go, but we'll definitely get into. Is it enough for our wing defenders to just be wing defenders, or do we also need some points from them? But go ahead, Tone. What you was gonna say?
Well, first off, shout out to Cornerstone, Kev. We miss you, brother. Got to get back in the chats and all that. Good to see you in the chat. And then Isaiah's comment, I actually wanted to mention. I wanted to ask you guys, especially you, Queen, because I feel like I haven't spoke to you in a week. You
I
know
know.
what I mean? But I've been talking about it with Sim and on my own show about either starting Mitchell Robinson or bringing him in the games as early as possible, or starting like the second quarter, starting the fourth quarter with him in the game to neutralize them fouling him as a strategy, right? Because I think Mitch has been great all 3 games. You know what I mean? The only thing I could discredit him on is missing the free throws, right? But even in that, like, he's sticking through it. He's still confident, whether he shoot an air ball or not. You know what I mean? Like, he came back and made a couple. But just to neutralize that strategy from them, play him early. You play him early, they're not going to foul, or they're going to put themselves in a penalty. If they're putting themselves in a penalty with 8 minutes left, advantage us. But when you put Mitch in the game with 8 minutes left, you know what I mean? There's probably 2 or 3 fouls already that we committed. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? So now they can maximize that strategy. So to minimize that, and it's not just to minimize it, just to minimize. It's because Mitch has been so effective in my opinion. I don't think they have an answer for him. Like he makes his mistakes, but when he's getting them rebounds, when he's defending, they have to change the way they are acting on the floor, what they're doing on the floor.
Right.
And he's been great in space. He's been great on the perimeter. Like granted, downhill, you're not going to stop Tatum. You know what I mean? Whoever you are. But other than coming downhill, when he's just guarding somebody on the perimeter, he's been awesome.
Yeah, but there's the other side of the ball too.
I think that's the strategy.
Yeah. There was a question I had for you. Anyway, it'll come back.
I know your condition.
Yeah, it'll come back. Ajay, I'll just say there's the other side of the ball too. And so there's trade-offs, and similar to Josh Hart, there's trade-offs, right? When he's in the game, they're not playing him at all. It's just not. They're just not playing him, and his guy is roaming, and it's similar with Mitch. Though you can't roam too much with Mitch because you got to try to keep him off the offensive glass.
I'll give.
Go ahead.
No, you go first.
They didn't really use the strategy a lot yesterday. The hacker Mitch. They did.
They did it, but I think it was not because they didn't want to. I think Tibbs is figuring out the times in which to use them. I think he did use Mitch a little bit earlier. I think he did use Mitch when it's not a penalty situation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they can't take advantage of it. I'm saying do that more. I'm saying do that more. But go ahead, because I forgot my point now.
Oh, you're getting the condition.
Yeah, he been hanging out with you too long, Queen. Like he's starting to get.
Oh, did you have something you wanted to say, Ajay?
About putting Mitch earlier in games.
Oh, just Mitch. Period.
Well, listen. We know Tibbs not going to change the starting lineup, right? That, Josh Hart would.
I don't think it's necessary either. Yeah.
And real quick, I'm saying you don't got to start him. That would be ideal just to maximize it. And say, because they're not going to foul off jump, but you can start the second quarter with him. You can start the third quarter with him, and that maximizes fourth quarter with him. That maximizes those 2 quarters to where they're not going to do that early, and if they are, then we'll be in a penalty early. My other thing was just to give Tibbs credit. He has. I feel like they've been using Josh Hart, Brunson, pick and roll a lot more because they're kind of playing off of Josh Hart, and that's a way to kind of neutralize that. I think we got to use that as much as possible as well when he's in the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
that takes away that advantage of them playing off of him, doubling off of him, and everything else. So I think I've seen that more in the third quarter overall than I did in the first two games. So that's a plus sign for Tibbs and saying, all right, this is how we combat that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with that, and I think you're saying about the first two games. I think that's the first time we've seen that play that much, like all season. That pick and roll with Josh Hart, and that works. It's such an easy basket. You're like, okay, they figured something out. They could go to that thing literally every time until Boston figures out how to.
I was about to say, listen, in the playoffs, you're not going to be able to stick with anything for long. You might get a basket or two out, but that might be all you need, right? The margins are so slim. You got to be on your toes, and you got to be ready to just, you go to it a few times. As soon as it stopped working, you move on to, something else, because they're going to be counters and counters and counters to the counters to the counters, right? You gotta be on your toes and just ready to move as far as a coach is concerned, in terms of schemes, in terms of counters, in terms of rotations. You can't just stick with something and be like, all right, this is it. We found it. This is what it's going to be. That's just not how the playoffs are. But let's get to
you do it till they stop it.
Correct.
I'll do that.
Yes, I agree.
You milk that cow. You milk it. Milk
it. Let's get to OG. 29 points in the first, 28 or 29 points in the first game. Last game, 2 points. 10 points game two. I'm not sure. Something along that lines. Just have not been great, offensively. I don't know how much of that is the defense, that he's playing. And the same for Mikal Bridges. But the fact of the matter is, we need offense from those guys. I hear what they're doing on the defensive end, but we're going to need some offense from them. And you can't see that in the playoffs. That's what tells you, like, when we get excited about how somebody scores, the playoff scorers are the ones where you can't really stop them. You might be able to slow them down, but you can't take them out of the game, right? So how many players do we have on this team that you can't take them out of the game? You can slow them down, but you can't take them out of the game. And I think that's Brunson and Cat. OG, you could take them out the game. We haven't seen them since the and let me know if I'm being unfair. We haven't seen them since since that first game. I'm pretty sure they made their adjustments. Mikal Bridges, I don't know if they taking Mikal Bridges out of his game, or he's just missing shots he would usually make, because he seems aggressive to me. I don't see any change in his process and what he's doing. He's just missing shots. But I've been known to be higher on Mikal Bridges than the others, so that could be clouding my eyes a little bit.
I think you're spot on, Queen. I think Mikal's been missing shots. He has been aggressive. I think he's taking good looks. He's had open threes all series. He's been missing. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. OG, I think there's a components to it. I think number one is even though he showed a lot of strides this year, I think he needs to be found for easier shots more than Mikal. You know what I mean? Mikal can find his own shot easier, make or miss. He can find his own shot easier. I think Mikal is missing. OG's missing that part of his game that we've seen glimpses of, where he's been creating his own shot. We haven't seen that at all this series. Even in the 29-point game, it was off the bounce more than off the catch more than anything else. You know what I mean? So I think for OG, we gotta find him easy shots, not just that open three or not just that three. We've learned this year, last year, he's more than a 3-and-D guy.
He can be,
right. Well, you gotta find the easy ones to get him going, get him open, and then the open threes he'll start making them. I'm not worried about him missing threes because he'll start making those. But the easy shots is what we gotta find for OG in particular. Mikal, he's got to just make shots. Like he's got to find that fourth quarter rhythm that he found throughout a full game, which we haven't seen. I don't even think we've really seen that in the last series. So throughout the playoffs, we haven't really seen a full game from him. So he got to make shots. OG, we're gonna have to find him some easy ones, and then the three ball will come along.
It's hard to find easy shots in the playoffs, though. That's the thing.
I think it's hard, but it's hard in general. But if you're not trying to find one, if you're not seeking one out, then you won't get one at all. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about a play called, a scheme, something to say, all right, we got to get you an easy one. Start the game with an OG shot. You know what I mean? Like that's the game plan. Like get him one early, easy, and as often as possible. Because the other ones will figure itself out. The open threes he'll start making. The defensive transition, you know what I mean, plays, those will come with the defense. You got to find him an easy one.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I also think another part of it is some people could score whether you paying attention to them or not. It doesn't matter. Whether you give extra help, whether you scheme, they're going to score. And there are some players that are just not at that level yet where you can scheme them out of a game. And I'm just wondering if OG is one of those guys. And I hear what you're saying. Get him something going downhill. See if you can, get him going. I'm just wondering if he's one of those guys that.
But even the 8 and 10 shot attempts, you know what I mean? Like my thing is, you gotta get him more than those. Whether he makes or misses them, you know what I mean? Like you can't have 8 and 10 shot attempts in a game because at that point you're neutralized.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not about, even if it's not an easy one, get him a shot. You know what I mean? Like get him, make them know that he's a threat over there, as opposed to, all right, he's out the game right now. Like we don't gotta worry about him on that, because that's another benefit. You're already not looking at Josh. You know what I mean? You're already not looking at Mitch when he's in the game. So you don't want to. And this is for OG in particular, like directly to him. Be aggressive too. Make them know that you are a threat on the offensive end, because they're already looking at guys that they could play off of. You don't want to be added to that list, even if it's subconsciously.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Brunson, that might be why he's struggling. You could play off of so many. You could play off of so many Knicks players, and put the and load up on Brunson. All right, let's talk about Cat before we get out of here. Again, somebody, in my opinion, who you can slow down. You can make it so that he's inefficient. I don't think he's somebody that you could take out of a game. Like he's just, he's just too talented. I need him to get rid of that high dribble. Like I just need him to get rid of that high dribble. And for those of us who grew up in the 70s, remember the cart, the shopping cart that would come around with all of the toys on it and the balloon, and you had that big, the one that would just wobble from side to side but wouldn't fall down. That's Cat when he's dribbling, so like I need that handle to be a little tighter, or just don't take that many dribbles. That being said, what are we seeing from Cat? What are they doing to make it difficult for him? And what would you like to see him do tonight, or us do, to make it easier for him? Ajay will go with you, and then Tom.
First of all, you said Cat. You don't see him as somebody that could take him out of his game, right?
Out of the game, meaning where he's a non-factor.
The problem is he takes himself out of the game. That's the problem. They don't even have to do that. Like he all by himself. He's like, he does bad all by himself. Like foul when he's driving, he's running, hit chest into, like, listen, we're not getting the calls. Like, we know this, and I have no problem saying, I know Queen Tony, you don't blame the ref. I have no problem blaming the ref.
Mhm.
I'm good with that,
I'm blaming
because
the
the
rest too.
refs, they affect the game just like everybody else. They part of it. They control the game. You hear them say this all the time. The refs got to take control of the game. By controlling the game, they could steer somebody towards a dub or an L. Okay. If somebody don't admit to that, that's fine. You trust the NBA, you don't think that's fine. I get it. I'm not one of those. Okay. But you're not getting the calls. We haven't been getting the calls.
No.
So Cat's got to understand, stop driving when there's like 4 defenders waiting for you in there. You're going to get punched, elbowed, all kind of stuff. They're going to start warming up your ribs, punching you in the ribs. You're not getting a call. Okay. If anything, they'll call an offensive foul against you. So you have to be smart about it. You know what I'm saying? So don't take yourself out the game by doing that. That's number one. Number two, diversify your game. You got more in the bag than just that high dribble that you're talking about, Queen. Every now and then, pop a 3, even if it doesn't drop, but they scared of you because they know you can shoot it. They know you can shoot it, and that makes them pay more attention to you. Open up somebody else. Maybe they'll double you off of Josh Hart, then you could make that pass. That little pick and roll pass. It may not even be a pick and roll, but Josh Hart to be roaming that down there under the basket. Give him the ball. He's a pretty good passer, Cat. So do various things with your game because you can. He has it. We've seen him do it, not just with the Knicks, but with Minnesota. We've seen him do it.
But is Boston doing something that makes it harder for him, though, you think?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, they're playing like one-on-one defense with him, and of course they are a good defensive team. So when he's dribbling the ball, they swiping at it, disrupting his dribble. That's what they're doing. But if he stops that dribble, then he eliminates that. And that causes a lot of turnovers. If you look at it, like most of those turnovers are, while he's dribbling the ball. Sometimes, and he does that all the time. Hold the ball, while everybody's moving. You get that, you're gonna find somebody. There's gonna be an open guy under the basket. You just be patient enough to wait for that play to open up. You know what I'm saying? And he's got that mid range. He could just do different things. You know what I'm saying? And again, very important. Don't get yourself in foul trouble. Do not. If you get yourself in foul trouble, then we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Yeah. Tone, thoughts on Cat this series or this series last game and what you need from him tonight?
Well, first off, let me start with agreeing that I put a lot of blame on the refereeing. I think Cat has been called for a phantom foul at least once every game. And I think he hasn't been getting fouls called when he's being aggressive and attacking. Right. So I gotta shoot Cat a little bit of bell in that point, because that's hard to play through. That's hard to kind of figure out and adjust to. And I wish him luck right now, because I know it looked like he's gonna play through a broken finger. You know what I mean? Like, he's been playing through the injured thumb all year. When he's not shooting well, when he's not scoring, at least he's rebounding. Like, I really don't have anything negative to say about Cat. I think he's been dominant in the post when the opportunity. Actually, I do have something negative, like you said, Ajay. Keep yourself on the floor, and I've been saying that all year long. Like, if you stay out of foul trouble, your presence alone is a difference maker, whether you're scoring or not. Because when you're not scoring, you're rebounding. You got the ability to pass. Like, you can affect the game in so many different ways. Availability is the thing that needs to be the most important thing. Make yourself available. Like, I want to hear Knicks fans complaining because he's playing 40-something minutes. But you will never hear it because he's in foul trouble every game and can't. So, other than the foul trouble, I think he's been great. I think he's been good in switches as opposed to the drop. I think he's been better in space. I think he's, you know what I mean? Like, he's He's been good. He's been good. He's been underutilized, but I can't blame Brunson or the team because he's hasn't been available when we need him the most, because he's picking up early fouls, late fouls,
Right.
and he's got to sit.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Because I can't take this all the way down to 7:30 because I got to get me something to eat before the game. What's the keys to the game tonight? And is this a must win in your estimation?
Let me start. It is definitely a must win. Number one key to the game for me is a quick start. Quick
Yes.
start, and that
Yes.
that does not mean that doesn't have to be Brunson. That don't have to be nobody in particular. Somebody needs to hit their shots early, preferably everybody, preferably a couple people. You know what I mean? But quick start. Like, we don't need to go down 20 points again. We do not need to fight our way back again. Let's play with the lead and see how we can do. See how they react to that, because they haven't had to react to that. You know what I mean? Let's put
Right.
some onus, some pressure, some put it all on Boston. Let's see how
Right.
they react instead of us having to react every game. You know what I mean? So let's get the lead. Let's play with the lead. Let's hold the lead, and let's see how they react to having to fight back. Let's see how they react to us having a collective good game. So that's it. That's as simple as I could put it.
Listen,
Yeah.
Quick start and collective effort.
I don't even, honestly, Tony, I'm okay if we don't have the lead in the first quarter. But let's say the first quarter and we're down by 2, I'm good.
Right.
3 points, 1 point, I'm good.
In
It
the
can't
game, close.
it close. Just keep it close. It can't beat first quarter. You down by 15 points. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I watched this game yesterday, man. Indiana, like they killed Cleveland. And think about it, Cleveland's a very good team in terms of like both on both ends of the floor, right? But there's a way you start your game, you just can never catch up. I mean, you got to remember that's another team of professional basketball player on the other end. I don't care what you could do. They kid once they have that lead, that head start. Sometimes, man, you just never can you just can't catch up. That's
Yeah.
why us coming down from 20 and that was the first time that was historical, first time in NBA history, right? Because it just doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? So we need to just keep it close. Like, don't start the game like we came here, we sleep, we sleep walking in the arena and let these guys come in here and first quarter you're already down by double digits. That cannot happen.
Right. I have to
Okay,
climb back in the game.
that's it. You just can't let it happen.
Yeah. 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 I don't think it's a must win game. I think that if we're up 3-1, that would be great. I think that puts a stranglehold on this series. But I don't think if it's 2-2, that means Knicks are going to
It's
lose the
over.
series. Yeah, I don't think it's over. To me, a must win is a closeout game. Um, the Knicks can win in Boston. Boston can win in New York. So I don't think it's a must win. But if you can get it, if you can get it, it's an opportunity to put a stranglehold on
I,
this
I I
series.
hear you on that, because by statistics, or like the numbers, is obviously not a must win. My stance is gonna stay the same. We need to show that Madison Square Garden is a dangerous place. Like, we need to show that it's not about you in the spotlight, the opponent at Madison Square Garden. It's about you having to deal with us. You having to deal with our crowd. Like, I think that's huge moving forward. Like, so we gotta show that.
I hear
We,
you, but even if they win tonight, Boston doesn't care. Like Boston is the best road team in the NBA. I don't think
Uh, Queen,
I mean, we got
in the
the
in the
we got
regular
we
we
the
we,
best
the,
road
we
team in the
yeah, we in
playoffs.
play. So
But
yeah, I
that's the
mean,
point I'm trying to make. I don't the Knicks if it's 2-2 and we going back to Boston, I don't feel like we out of it.
I agree. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that
But when you say
because
must win, how I hear that is if we don't get this game, we're not going to
I'm
win the series.
I'm
That's how
I'm
I hear it.
when I say must win, I'm only talking about because of the Garden, what it means to
Mm.
play in the Garden. It's the past 2 years we haven't been able to close out at Madison Square Garden, and we've had multiple opportunities. Us winning tonight, it gives us not only the opportunity still to close out at Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean? If we lose, if we win tonight and lose, we can still close out at the Garden. That's what I'm saying. I want the Garden to be a place that teams are afraid to come to as opposed to excited to come to. I don't want it to be an even playing field. And this is so I'm looking at it from a long term
I hear you.
moving
I hear you.
moving forward. You know what I mean? Like
I hear you.
where we talk about next year and we 60 win team, whatever. We want to be confident saying we got the number 1 seed or we got the number 2 seed or we got because home court advantage means something. Otherwise, it don't matter, right? Otherwise, we could be the
I
6th
mean,
seed.
well, no, it matters in terms of the level of who you play, right? So getting a higher seed does matter in terms of in terms of who you play. I just don't think it's what it used to be, but I hear you. I
Are you
definitely
saying for us or are you saying all around?
all around, and for the
Okay,
Knicks, yeah,
because I don't
yeah.
maybe I don't pay attention enough, but I don't
Mhm.
think that's the case. I think for certain teams, home court advantage means something, and I want us to be part of that group.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case anymore. The home court. I don't know. That's you see it all over the NBA and these playoffs. Last year playoff teams are winning on the road. If you think you're gonna win your series because you have home court advantage, I just, teams know how to, especially the good teams. They know how to win on the road, and you better know how to win on the road. Um, that you're gonna win all your home games, and that's how you're gonna win a championship. Yeah, I don't know, but I hear you. I hear you. I'm just saying, if the Knicks are 2-2, I don't think that's ideal. I think Boston feels more confident, but I still think the Knicks are in this series. I don't think if it's 2-2, that means that the Knicks are gonna lose. Um, yeah, yeah. But in terms of my keys to the game, pretty much what we've been, what we've been talking about. I really need Brunson to be a bit more aggressive, in my opinion. I need OG to show up to the party in terms of his aggressiveness as well. Mikal can continue being as aggressive as he is, but I need you to knock down some shots. Like, you got to be chomping at the bit. Like, you got to come in there like a junkyard dog. Like, this first shot, my shots is going down. Like, that's super focused. That's really what we need tonight. I don't want to see. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and be aggressive, get to the line early, because you know what I mean. If you're gonna let them if you're gonna let them use that Mitchell Robinson strategy, at least getting the penalty early, so it's not just him
Right.
that's going to the line.
Yeah. Um, um, for sure. And who's this? A Salamo. It's most important to finally have complete games. They've shown they can come from behind and play a close game, but New York needs to have a great team game for 48 minutes. Full
We have
48. Yeah.
we haven't had one
Yeah.
throughout the playoffs.
Yeah. I
Queen,
think Boston has something to do with that too. But yeah, I agree. It hasn't been full 48. And my last point is what Tony said. I don't care. We don't have to be up by 15 or whatever, but it needs to be a game after the first quarter. Like, we need to be within 5 points, up or down.
Queen.
Mhm.
One thing and that's probably one of my keys to the game, right? And we talked about defense, the switching and staying with your guy, and that's fine a lot. There's something we do that's even worse than drop coverage that I forgot to mention earlier. When we switch, there's one guy that does a little show
That's what I
and then
said.
get
Like,
away.
what is that?
That I mean, it like 100% of the time ends up in an open three. And the main culprits are Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby. I don't know why they kept doing it all game.
I know
Well,
why.
usually when you hedge, though, you're on the guy. You're hedging on the guy to the other player gets there, then you release.
Yeah,
It's like a juke step. No
it's like a juke step.
contact.
What
No.
I
By
what I
that
see
release, the other guy's already rolling like
what I
somebody's open.
what I see happening is the main goal is to switch. The
Every
main
time.
goal
Every
is to
time.
switch.
Every
But
time.
there are times, because I think Boston knows that is the main goal, is to switch, that Boston is maneuvering to a point where Brunson has to stay on. I'm sorry. The main goal is not to switch when it's Brunson. It's for Brunson not to get caught in these bad matchups. So the main goal is to keep Brunson off of it. Hedge, do whatever you gotta do, recover.
I get it.
But I think Boston is spreading the floor a little bit too much to where when OG's trying to get back to recover and Brunson to get back to the original man, they're too far apart. And now OG has to make a decision to get back to the original man, and Brunson's getting stuck on the island that they didn't want. But because I think there's confusion from Brunson, because he's always not trying to get caught in that matchup. The bad part for me is, Brunson, you've done well when you had to switch. You've done well in moments on Tatum. You've done well in moments on Brown. Like, whatever that matchup is that you're switching for, even if it's not ideal, you got to live with that. Because you've done well enough of the percentage of time that you can live with it, and they haven't killed you enough of the time that it's been a detriment. What has killed us is getting caught in the middle. What has killed us is the other guy being left open because y'all worried about Brunson switching.
But why are you worried though? I feel like he's held up over the first two games. Maybe he's been in foul trouble and they don't want him switching, picking up his third. Now I would have to go back and look at the tape.
That has happened. That has happened.
Okay.
He's been in foul trouble. But even with that, Tibbs, you gotta make that decision. Either take him out and ride with somebody else for a couple extra minutes, or if it's at 2, don't take him out. Don't let it get to 3, because he's been riding with guys. He's been riding with Cat with 2 early ones. You know what I mean? He ends up getting the third. He's been riding with part of it's on Tibbs. I mean, most of it's on Tibbs, but I don't think it's been a detriment. I think it's just things that I also think Tibbs is figuring things out as we go. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's been a detriment. Obviously, we're up 2-1, so there's a bit of a cushion to your point.
Which is the nature of the playoffs.
Yep.
That's the nature. He's figuring it out. So is Missoula. Like, that's the nature of the playoffs. Counter, because people will be like, figuring it out. Like, this late in the season, you need to know. That's just, they make changes. You got to be able to counter in game.
And sometimes, like the Mitchell Robinson thing, even though you say you saw it less this last game, that's not something that he's obviously going away from. You know what I mean? So Tibbs is after if he's gonna keep doing it, Tibbs is gonna have to keep finding ways to neutralize it, to make it least effective. You know what I mean? Until you take it away completely.
Right. Yeah. We definitely have to the offensive, you can't be giving them 2 and 3 opportunities at the basket. And I'm sure they're saying the same thing about us. Like, you just can't be giving up second chance. Yeah, it's me. I like when Brunson has to switch and guard Tatum. All he's gonna do is shoot a jumper. Yeah.
That's it. I live with that. And that's the part I don't get. It's they get a 2, fine. They get 2 points, fine.
Yeah. All right, I gotta get out of here.
I was just about to say the same thing, Queen.
Knicks win. For me, Knicks win. Ajay, Tony.
Come on, man. You know.
Yeah, I think we get this one. I think we're due for number one, a good game from Brunson. I think we're due for a good game collectively. So not saying this is gonna be like a blowout or any means, but I think this should be our best game of the series.
I
That's
agree.
what I'm expecting tonight.
Yeah.
So
we going back up there. We going back up there up 3-1.
if we want to not playing our best, I hope and pray that we play our best. We get this one, and so that's what I'm banking.
And
on.
I don't expect Boston to shoot 50% from three. They could, but I don't expect it. Anyway, until next time, family. Enjoy the game. Me and Geoff tomorrow, 8 a.m. Dope Soul Sports Talk with the pregame recap and
Post game
reaction. Post game recap and reaction. Until next time, family.